A lot of bad right now for the San Jose Sharks.
As stinky and awful as possible.
As the lawyer for stink, they'd have to work harder to stink.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
The Sharks finally win their first game. You can see the emotion. As Blackwell said in the locker room afterward, it's a lot of relief in here.
Welcome to another edition of The Drop. Greg Wyshynski, Arda, Öcal here every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you get your audio podcasts, as well as the NHL and ESPN YouTube. You know what? I feel like we should start with an ovation. Congratulations. They did it. There it is. A golf clap for the San Jose Sharks as they, inch towards golfing in the summer.
I mean, Arda, do you believe in miracles? Yes! They won! They won a game! I was watching, as I said last night, watching that game against the Flyers, where the Sharks get their first victory of the season. It was like watching the worst Game 7 ever played. Like, the tension was palpable. The hockey was terrible. But at the end of the day, they did it. They won. They won it for all of those empty seats that were separating the fans in the arena. Yeah. I was so happy for San Jose, man. I could not be happier that they won that game.
I want to give a shout out to our mutual friend, DJ Bean. I thought he had the best tweet. He used AI to create this graphic of these animals with Sharks jerseys, and his tweet says, "And the Sharks have won the 2023 game." I love it.
The thing I missed last night, dude, you know what I missed a lot last night? I missed the old torts last night. Our former coworker, obviously we've talked about before how the years have mellowed him a bit. I think he's been a different cat since he had that situation in Vancouver. But man, give me vintage Rangers 2013 torts after losing to the Sharks and handing the most moribund, as we talked about last episode, flaming bag of poo team in the league, their first victory. Like, give me the volcanic torts last night to be like, it is unacceptable to give an expansion team like that a victory or something. Just give me something. But
something like that.
He's a sweater vest guy now.
And by the way, shots were 40-19 in favor of Philly in that game. And so at one point the shots were like so lopsided, but the Sharks were in the lead. They scored first 1-0. But anyhow, congratulations to San Jose Sharks. Your prize, Sharks fans, is facing the also despondent Edmonton Oilers on Thursday night, exclusively on ESPN Plus. Yours truly and Kevin Weeks will be on the desk for that one.
Wow.
So the Edmonton Oilers, as much as we just spent time talking about the Sharks, Wish, the Oilers, and in particular the Oilers fan base, might be even more in a desperate situation, a more urgent situation. 5 alarm bells ringing everywhere in Edmonton right now, at least if you ask a bunch of the fans. So why don't we go through, if we were to look 20,000 foot view, City of Edmonton, the Oilers franchise, if we were to choose and pick 5 ways to fix the Edmonton Oilers in 2023, let's go through that list.
Well, hold on a second. So you're telling me that being one San Jose Sharks away from being the worst team in the National Hockey League, despite having the majority of the punditry saying you're going to win the Stanley Cup, that's a bit of a disappointment, Arda?
Just a little bit. Just a smidge, man. Just a smidge. There is a lot riding on this game, isn't there?
Yeah,
there is.
Huge. It's massive. Huge. I mean, as we'll talk about later on, perhaps even a job could be riding on the game. But let's go under the hood. Let's play mechanic. You've got a jumpsuit that says Arda. I have a jumpsuit that says, I don't know, Greggy or something. I don't know. We've got wrenches. We've got things that you use to fix cars. I don't know. My dad never taught me how to change the oil in a car. But we're going to do our best to get under the hood and fix the Edmonton Oilers, starting with Arda.
The goaltending.
Yes.
And that is where we always look when we are looking to fix a team. And Jack Campbell, obviously placed on waivers for the purposes of assignment. The Oilers are 32nd in the league in team save percentage. That's just for those mathies out there. That's worse than the San Jose Sharks. Just want to be clear on that. They're 31st in goals saved above expected, which means they're not getting many saves above what you would expect them to be at. And Stuart Skinner is over 7 goals saved below expected. So, yeah, if there's one place that you're looking first, it's definitely between the pipes.
And look, Jack Campbell was a disastrous signing. I think Ken Holland has done a pretty good job at Edmonton, to be honest with you. Like, I think the Evander Kane thing worked. Obviously, we were all praising the Matthias Ekholm trade last year. Like, I think Ken Holland has done in aggregate, like, pretty good things for that team. But it is counterbalanced by the goaltending being an absolute tragedy every single season. I don't know what the Mike Smith thing was year after year. Skinner was good last year. He's been terrible this year. The Jack Campbell thing, though, honestly, dude, like, you can quibble about the money they gave that guy, but remember, it was a super hot goalie market that summer. I think a lot of people saw him as a stabilizing force. I think a lot of people saw him as a good 1A to put in a situation that you could trot him out there. He's going to give you quality starts. And it was a whiff. I mean, it's Holland's fault it's a whiff, but I don't think that he was alone in thinking that it was a positive move for the Oilers to sign Jack Campbell. But ultimately, in the last decade, one of the most disastrous signings that we've seen from an NHL team.
Two quick things about that,
please.
Just to your point. Now, Jack Campbell did have great stretches in Toronto, and he was very much a Vezina candidate in that first half of his last stint with Toronto. So that conversation was absolutely happening. That second half was really what started to seep doubt into the minds of Leaf fans. The other thing is just the human element, because I know that Jack Campbell's been going through a lot. He definitely has. In hearing him talk publicly, you can tell that he struggles at times with when he has rough stretches in net. So from the human element, you definitely hope for a guy, and he's, by all accounts, one of the nicest guys in the locker room. So you hope for people like that to be able to rebound and find their stride again. So I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that. Yeah,
and that's a market that chews you up and spits you out if you don't perform, and he hasn't performed. The big fix for me for the Oilers, number 2, let's fix Connor McDavid. How about that? How about we fix Connor? Connor has 10 points in 9 games to start the season, which would be awesome for anyone not named Connor McDavid, who had 23 points in his first 10 games last year. Arda, my God. If you'll remember, McDavid was initially thought to be out for a couple of weeks with an upper body injury. He came back ahead of schedule since the Heritage Classic. Since then, only has 1 assist in 3 games. Listen, man, I don't know if Connor is going through something physically, but get that man some stem cells, get him a spa day, get him something. We need to get the full Connor back to fix the Oilers. But I do have to mention, though, consider this. Consider that maybe it's not Connor that completely needs fixing. According to Stathletes, McDavid is first in the NHL in primary assists that lead to shots, okay? But he's 182nd in primary assists that lead to in just general primary assists that lead to goals. He was second in that category last season. So what we're seeing, Arda, is he's getting pucks to teammates. They're shooting. It ain't happening. They're fumbling the bag, and that's one of the reasons why Connor's point total is where it is. He's still creating chances. They're not finishing. So while I do think McDavid needs some fixing, they need to be able to ride this guy for a few weeks by his lonesome and be that Hart Trophy winner that we all know he can be. His teammates do also need to convert some of these chances he's given them.
That is an excellent statistic, which may or may not have contributed to his frustrations, particularly visible in the third period against the Vancouver Canucks, which leads me to my third point, which is our third point, which is stop playing the Vancouver Canucks. The Edmonton Oilers have already lost 3 times to Vancouver this season. Now, that also is in part because Vancouver is lights out to start the year.
An absolute wagon right now. Yeah,
absolutely. Thatcher Demko, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes. We get all that. We're focusing on the Oilers side of this. The Oilers have been outscored 18-6 against Vancouver. So if we can avoid going to the westernmost part of Canada in the NHL geography for the foreseeable future, for the rest of the season even, and if we see them on the calendar, let's just not show up, then maybe the Oilers can pick up some points elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. You got, and again, let's slow a roll on Vancouver. This is like if Ohio State got to play Rutgers 3 times in the first month of the season. Like, we'd all be talking about how dominant they are.
Yep, exactly.
My fourth point here on how to fix the Edmonton Oilers: maybe die by 100 cuts. Connor McDavid said that the Oilers' losses are the death by 1,000 cuts, which of course revealed him to be a major Swiftie, as we all know. But he's right. Each game the Oilers have lost, it's been kind of a different problem for Edmonton. But consistently, they've been allowing high quality shots. And if you've watched these games, their defensive mistakes just seem, I don't know, extra costly compared to other teams. But I got to admit that there is some hope analytically when you look inside the numbers, when you go under the hood, as we're doing now, Arda. They're third in shots per 60 at 5-on-5. They're fifth in shot attempts per 60 at 5-on-5. What's happening right now is what we talked about with McDavid. They're just not converting chances. Think of this. The NHL Edge site, which I dragged this week on ESPN.com for not allowing me to see who the slowest skater in the league is. Hopefully they fix that. According to NHL Edge, the offensive zone is split up into 15 different quadrants, okay? The Edmonton Oilers had a higher shooting percentage last season in 10 of those 15 quadrants. Okay, so what that tells you is that the law of averages, the shooting percentage will increase, get better over time for the Oilers, not converting their chances. They have really solid, even strength shot metrics right now. One would expect the goals will come, and it's basically impossible for them not to.
Death by 100 cuts.
Yeah, reduce it down from 1,000.
The other quote that Connor McDavid, since he's a big Nickelback fan, is "burn it to the ground," which he apparently loves. Maybe that's swirling in the minds of Edmonton Oilers fans, which brings us to point number 5. You just can't let the expectations crush you. Now, I can't speak specifically for the players in that locker room and how much they are paying attention to the discourse that is happening among the fan base, among the media, but that is absolutely palpable. You can cut it with a butter knife because all the conversation that is being had around the Oilers is cup or bust. Cup or bust.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the chant that is happening in the arena, Wish, but we know, we've seen this time and time again with particular fan bases and particular teams. And I've said it on this show. It would be a travesty if we do not see Connor McDavid raise a Stanley Cup. We need that image. Hockey needs that image. But right now, you have to focus on everything but that singular idea and those expectations.
Yeah. Now, those are 5 palpable ways to fix the Edmonton Oilers. But the one thing we have not mentioned, the elephant in the room, Arda. Neither of us have talked about the Jay Woodcroft of it all. Would firing Jay Woodcroft fix this team right now, Arda?
So I want to give a shout out to another one of your good buddies, Jeff Merrick, because I heard him say this. He brought up a quote that is used commonly in hockey for decades now. You owe your coach a trade. In the sense that more generally, you owe your coach a tinkering of the lineup before you seriously consider removing the coach. To me, we are in the middle of that situation right now. Yeah. I would think that we have to do some tinkering to this lineup, especially goaltending. And if it still persists, it's a short leash, but if it still persists, Wish, that's when I would start thinking about the coach's hot seat.
There's a timeline to these things. Usually you get a team meeting of some sort. I don't know if they've had one yet. Then you get the shocking demotion of a veteran. We've had that now with Jack Campbell. Usually then there's some sort of trade to shake things up or fix a problem with the team, which, like you said, we might be headed to. And then after that, you usually get a fired coach. But I'll say this, though, man. Like, if they continue to spiral, if they lose the Sharks, if they go the next 5 games and lose 4 of them, I think it's entirely possible that he could pay the price. If he does pay the price, the question is who comes in. 2 names on the open market that are very intriguing. One is Gerard Gallant, who obviously has Red Wings ties to Ken Holland, and as somebody who has gotten success in most places he's gone. The second guy may not necessarily be the guy to fix the defensive problems of the Edmonton Oilers, although I think he did an underrated job of that in Minnesota, but certainly could fix the vibes. And that's our friend Bruce Boudreau, who I think could walk in there and put a smile on everybody's face at the very least. One name that I know has been bandied about in Edmonton as being who could come in and fix this team would, of course, be Joel Quenneville. But I do believe that the situation we talked about earlier this week, Arda, with the new lawsuit coming against the Chicago Blackhawks, basically ends any possibility that Joel Quenneville is going to get the green light to come and coach in this league this season, probably at the very least.
Yeah, actually, we have a bonus sixth way to fix the Edmonton Oilers, and that is become one with the Force. Just use the Force, Edmonton. It's that simple. Exactly. Rebel scum. You know who uses the Force very well? Devon Levi of the Buffalo Sabres, and he joins us right now on The Drop. I've been looking forward to this interview for a very long time. Pleased to be joined here on ESPN's The Drop by Buffalo Sabres goaltender Devon Levi. Devon, thanks for making time for us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
Awesome. Obviously, I'm a big Star Wars guy. We're going to get to all of that. I really want to do a big deep dive, but you actually have a really cool project that you're also involved with Sense Arena, virtual reality. The idea of training hockey in the virtual reality space. Can you just tell us how this all came about for you?
Yeah, so first time I got introduced to it was at World Juniors. Our goalie coach, Jason LaBarbera, got us a headset with, Sense Arena on it. And at the time, it was kind of like, wow, like I've never heard anything about this. Let's try it out. Fast forward like three and a half years, I'm still using it a lot. I've been using it for different reasons than I was at the time. Back then, it was just kind of fun. Now, like I've found a way to kind of integrate it into my training and, use it to my benefit. So it's just a great tool. Really cool to just be able to have access to players taking shots without having to put the gear on when you're injured, when you don't have access to ice. So stuff like that, like it's just a great opportunity to just get extra work in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how has it specifically made your game better? Is it just to have it available, like, for example, when you were out earlier this season, to be able to kind of still train with it? Or is there parts of your game that have specifically gotten better because of it?
I mean, for sure, the injury part where, like, if you're not on the ice, like you can still take shots, you could still stay in the swing of things. So that definitely helped. If you need a day off, or if the team takes a day off and you want to see more pucks without spending energy, it's an opportunity to do so. I use it before practice sometimes, just to get some warm-up shots, like on the road, before pregame skates. We don't have much time before getting out to get on the ice. Like we get on right after the other team gets off for their pregame skates. So bringing that on the road and taking warm-up shots also, I'm going to be doing that more moving forward. So just there's so many different ways that you can use it to benefit, like depending on who you are as a person, what you want to work on. There's the sky's the limit with this thing.
How prevalent do you think this could become, like VR training for elite goaltenders?
I think the technology is getting better and better every year. They keep releasing new Oculuses, new headsets. There's a new one that just got released that I did the demo for, and it was really cool. Like the just like the new technology, like you could feel it was a step up from the previous one. So I think every year it's getting more realistic. I think every year there's more thought put into how they could make it better and how they could make it more realistic and more impactful for young goalies. So I think it'll definitely be something that'll be around for sure.
Good to hear you're not spending too much time playing against Roblox Ovechkin, that the graphics have gotten better. Things are good. I was curious about you, season over season, man. You come on the scene last year at the Sabres, blow everybody's doors off. You got people in Buffalo calling you the franchise goalie, the future. How have you handled, I know the mental part of the game is a big deal for you. How have you handled those expectations that were placed on you based on that short time you had with the Sabres last year?
Yeah, I think that the expectations that I have for myself kind of are at my forefront of my focus. And my expectations aren't just to kind of come in and play well for 8 games. It's more of a a long-term thing, just to get better every day and develop and turn into the goalie that I know I can be. So I think that just sticking to my goals and my routines, and I know it works for me. So just getting into the swing of things, learning every day, going out competing. So those are things that I value, that I direct my focus towards. And it's great. It's great that the fans are excited. We have a great fan base, and the building's been getting more packed as the games go on. So having their support and their interest is also great. And we're just excited for the year moving forward.
All right, Devon, you are a big Star Wars guy. We know about your meditation during timeout, the Qui-Gon inspired. I really want to do a Star Wars deep dive here. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. So why don't we start at the beginning, dude? Like when did you first discover Star Wars, and how did that happen?
When I was young, really young. My dad was the one who, kind of gathered us around. We'd go watch some movies in the living room, and Star Wars was one of those movies early on that I watched. I didn't quite grasp the concept of it at the time, but I like the lightsabers.
How old would you have been at this point?
I don't know. I was young though. I was definitely younger than 10. Okay. I remember my dad not wanting me to watch just with Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting going off. Like it was pretty explicit. Like there was Anakin getting sliced in half, so I don't think he wanted me to see that as a kid. And I remember wanting to watch that movie so bad.
It was Revenge of the Sith, and that is a good dad, because Anakin gets every limb sliced off and he's melting in lava and screaming. I can imagine that being traumatic for a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So he didn't want me to watch that.
But then one of the best scenes ever, right? Where like Darth Vader is formed and you see the droids putting the mask on awesome. Piece by piece, and then Darth Vader rises, and you just can't help but get goosebumps, right? So what about the masks? You have some really cool mask designs, lightsabers. How did you put those together?
Yeah, so the first time that I considered putting like a lightsaber on my helmet, I was actually on FaceTime with my girlfriend trying to figure out what to put on this all black helmet. Like, what am I going to draw on this helmet that the trainers got me? I was to wear it in warm-ups last year with our black jerseys, and it was just a tank, just all black with a white cage. It was like, I can't wear this. I got to put something on it. So I'm just on FaceTime with my girlfriend. She's like, why don't you put some lightsabers on it? Like that started kind of the process of, how I could incorporate like Star Wars into my helmets. And, it's great that the colorways like fit exactly, like the black and red jerseys, and then the blue jerseys also for, blue lightsabers and red lightsabers. So it just fit perfectly. It's a really cool concept. Like, I think there's so much you could do. So much room for creativity, kind of make it my own. And it's just it's fun to wear, things that like I like and that I think are cool. So it's cool to kind of make that up too with the graphic designer for the helmet, kind of figure out like where to put the lightsabers, like find new ways to make it look interesting. So it's fun. I enjoy doing it.
Arda mentioned your Jedi-like meditation, breathing techniques, becoming one with the Force during games. Where did you develop that? Where does your mind go when you're doing that?
Yeah, so it started at World Juniors. I don't think it was my first TV timeout, so I didn't know where to go. So I didn't want to go to the bench. I went to the bench, took some water, like just what a lot of other goalies do. I was like, nah, it's not for me. And then I just found that spot on the ice that I just felt comfortable in, and I just started focusing on my breath. Around that time we were in COVID, and I'd quarantined for like I think a month before that World Junior camp. So I was getting into meditation and how like like the mental part of the game. I'm not on the ice, so how can I, focus on my mind and develop my mental game off the ice? So that was the kind of time where I kind of took to the mental side of the game, and I did that. I just felt right in that moment, just like focusing on my breath, meditating. And then my dad, after the game, was like, "You know who you look like? You look like Darth Maul, like, or you look like Qui-Gon when he's going up against Darth Maul." And I was like, "That's actually really cool." And I kept doing it because it felt good, but I also felt like I was in the movie a little bit, like getting ready to go to battle after the whistle blows. So it was a cool parallel my dad drew.
Eventually, you're going to have to be in a movie, right? Like, we're going to have you as a stormtrooper in a Star Wars show or movie or something, right? If that call's coming, you're saying yes, right?
For sure, 100%.
The good news is that you have two friends that work at Disney now. So we'll see what strings we can pull in order to make that happen.
All of a sudden, in 2 weeks, Chris from PR is like, you got this request to be a stormtrooper in the next Mandalorian season.
That'd be amazing.
Speaking of the new shows, like, are you keeping up with, like, are you watching Ahsoka, Andor? Like, what is your Star Wars fandom like today?
Yeah, I started Ahsoka. I'm actually getting into a good part of it where I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm around halfway through. There's a great cameo that just popped up. I don't want to say who, but it's I like that show a lot. Mandalorian, I really liked, like, season 1 and 2. Like, I just remember like loving watching those shows in quarantine when they were out back around COVID time, and showed them to my mom too. My mom's a big fan of Baby Yoda. She thinks he's cute. And yeah, Obi-Wan, the show is unbelievable too. I loved seeing him face off against Darth Vader, against Anakin again. So that was super, super cool.
All right. So Arda and I are of a certain generation. Everyone who grew up around us obviously wanted to be Han Solo when they grew up. Do you have a favorite character? Do you model yourself after anybody in the Star Wars universe?
It's a good question. I remember dressing up as Obi-Wan when I was younger.
There you go.
That was one of my Halloween costumes. My mom got me, a blue lightsaber with the Obi-Wan fit. So I always liked him. I just felt like he was a respectable character with good values. So I think if I'd say that I modeled myself after him. I wouldn't say like I wrap my life around being like Obi-Wan, but that was probably one of my favorite characters growing up. And obviously, I love Anakin turning into Darth Vader. That character development, I think that's one of the coolest like plot twists of all time. Just how they how they went back and made the three more the 3 extra movies, the trilogies after. And how that kind of built on the original 3, and watching it in that order, the chronological order now also has a crazy like plot twist to it. So I thought that's really cool.
Well, it's good to know that like you don't take the Obi-Wan thing too far. I would hate for you to not get the Buffalo Sabres to the playoffs and then like go to a desert planet and become a hermit for the rest of your life. That's something we want to see.
Or he makes a big save and he just looks at people and like, hello there. Devon, this is awesome, dude. We actually do an ESPN Star Wars podcast. I'd love to have you on sometime to just even nerd out about Star Wars more, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
I have 2 very quick questions for you. The first one is, are you going to lobby the Buffalo Sabres front office to do more Star Wars themed nights at games?
I should. It's a good idea. That'd be great. Like I said, the colors they match perfectly, so that'd be a good idea.
And during that game, will your stick be a lightsaber?
That I don't know if that would be great for hockey purpose, stopping 5-hole shots, but it would look cool.
It would look cool on television.
Save it for the skills competition. And Arda, I can't believe you just left the Buffalo lightsabers just sitting there. Like, that is what they should do for one night, obviously.
Oh my gosh, imagine.
Yeah, I know.
Imagine that, lightsabers as the swords, the tauntaun in the middle. Oh my gosh.
It's all right there. Terry
Devon,
Pagula, we're right here for you, buddy.
Devon,
we
literally just made the merch.
I'll put in a good word if you guys get me in as a stormtrooper.
Love the
Deal.
callback.
Deal is made.
We all got some calls to make here. This is amazing. I love it. Devon, you've been awesome with your time. We definitely would love to have you back. This was awesome. Buffalo Sabres goaltender Devon Levi, strong with the force, one with the force. Devon, thanks for your time, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Many thanks for young Padawan Devon Levi quickly becoming a Jedi Knight in the National Hockey League. Definitely exciting for Sabres fans having him on the roster. Let's shift gears and talk about two players that are experiencing a little bit of challenges or a little bit of challenge early on in this season. I'm talking about Johnny Gaudreau and Jonathan Huberdeau. Both players, huge expectations, great offensive output in their careers. They've been benched for stretches of games, entire periods, just riding that pine. A message sent by their respective teams. What do you make of it, Wish?
The Huberdeau one is a really frustrating one because it feels like they've given him every opportunity to succeed there. Like they basically fired a coach to get this guy's offensive game going. He's not a point per game player anymore. He's a -12 on the season. The best news about him being on the bench for Calgary is that he couldn't become a -13. And then Gaudreau obviously is having trouble finding his footing in Columbus. So here's the thought, Arda. What would you do if I proposed to you that the Calgary Flames trade Jonathan Huberdeau to the Columbus Blue Jackets for the services of one Johnny Gaudreau?
Can you imagine Johnny Gaudreau returns to Calgary after everything? Like just the whole free agency thing, and then here's Johnny Hockey back in Calgary.
Back in it's like an episode of Black Mirror, basically, for this guy. Like,
yeah,
it would
no
be,
kidding.
It would be a nightmare scenariyo. By the way, I'm just joking. It's not going to happen.
No, it totally is. No, we're going to do a half an hour deep dive.
Yeah, Gaudreau is done with Calgary, but it is amazing to think about like the fates of those two players and just how things have gone for them, and it's just wild.
Wish it's more likely that we see a Linus Allmark for Leon Draisaitl trade, which is also that I've seen online, and I'm like, really? We're talking about this?
It's wild. That's
interesting. What is wild is we're already going to be talking about NHL awards. That's right. If you know nothing else about this podcast, is that we love to talk about things way sooner than we should be talking about them. Look no further than our playoff bracket that we talked about in the last show.
Okay, that was early. That was early.
Well, yes. Maybe a little. All right. I guess early November is totally fine to be talking about NHL awards.
But buddy, the standings are constantly changing. Narratives can be cemented pretty early. Like as a connoisseur, you know how like they have those Oscar blogs like Gold Derby? Like I'm a connoisseur of the NHL awards. That's why I do the NHL Awards Watch every month, is I understand intrinsically how these awards go. So me telling you what, you know, a few dozen voters are thinking at the beginning of November is me telling you where things may end up. So real briefly here at the end of the show, a rundown of where things stand. You could read the full article on ESPN.com. Jack Adams, the leader right now, is Bruce Cassidy of the Vegas Golden Knights. The finalists are Derek Lalonde of the Detroit Red Wings and Rick Tocchet of the Vancouver Canucks. I fully anticipate that Tockett's probably going to be the front runner for this award if Vancouver continues on their way, because the thing about Tocchet is that he's got the thing that you need for the Jack Adams, which is palpable, tangible things a coach does to make a team better. Calling them soft 3 games into the season, benching star players. Like Tocchet's doing the work. He's putting the work in. And don't forget, the broadcasters are the ones that vote on the Jack Adams. And up until last year, Rick Tocchet, broadcaster. So keep that in mind going forward.
One quick thing, 2 quick things about this. So to me, it's like, okay, the Vegas Golden Knights are the reigning Cup champs. They had a great start. So naturally, Bruce Cassidy would be in the lead at this point in the season. Like that just seems like a slam dunk thought. But you're right. Like Rick Tocchet is like the LA Knight, right? Like where like you're just starting to elevate, and you can see him winning the championship. That's definitely Rick Tocchet. And to your point about calling people soft, also calls fellow coaches soft if you read lips on broadcasts. Let's go on to
I just want to mention two real quick. 2 guys I'm interested in for the Jack, by the way. One is Jim Montgomery, who we talked about in the beginning of the season. his coaching plus the goaltending plus the team defense was going to get the Bruins back into playoff contention. It's done more than that, I think, this season. And then the other guy, I mean, he won it last year, so he probably won't win it again. But another guy that I think is an interesting choice, just because he doesn't normally get into the Jack Adams conversation, despite being like the best coach in the league, is John Cooper. I mean, to navigate the Lightning through these lineup changes, through not having Vasilevsky and doing what they've been doing, I think it'd be interesting to see him get in the mix this year for that award.
Are you surprised that he hasn't won one?
No, I'm not surprised, because the NHL traditionally does not reward coaches of great teams. Like, the only guy that ever got credit for it is Scotty Bowman. Like, say what you will about Babcock as a person, like, he was the head coach of some really successful teams, didn't win a Jack Adams, John Cooper. I mean, a lot of these guys that are the head coaches of extremely talent-laden teams don't normally win. So yeah, I've never been surprised that Coop hasn't gotten his flowers, although he should have. Vesna, the leader right now is Thatcher Demko. And he's tied with Jake Ottinger amongst our panelists, with Jeremy Swayman of the Bruins, the third choice right now. Demko Ottinger, you could see that being a 2-horse race all the way down to the finish line this season with the way those two guys play. But keep in mind, the GMs are the ones that vote on these awards. We currently have 2 Western Conference guys as the leaders. There's going to be somebody from the East that jumps up, and maybe Swayman, maybe somebody else, to try to win this award.
2 names I will throw out there. Joe Wool, if he nestles into that 1A position for the Leafs and turns the net minding around completely, will definitely garner some vote attention. And whatever goaltender turns the Oilers' fates around. So those are 2 positions to look at.
The Calder, one that everybody's interested in. Connor Bedard's their leader. Logan Cooley and Pavel Mintyukov of the Anaheim Ducks are your finalists right now, according to our ballots. You would not expect, him to be the defenseman in your top 3. Maybe Luke Hughes might have been the choice right now to sneak in there. But right now, with the way the Ducks have gotten off the blocks early in the season, I think he's gotten a lot of attention. The Cooley, like I said, beginning of the season, I thought he had a chance to really steal the Calder from Bedard. And at this point, he is the stalking horse in this race. But again, it's if Bedard hits his marks and doesn't trail off at some point this season, the hype train was real, and so far he's meeting enough expectations where the voters have him as the top spot for Rookie of the Year.
And Mintyukov, a sleeper pick, he has been terrific, especially during the Ducks 6-game win streak that just ended against the Penguins. Man, he has been great. Sometimes he just carries the puck right down the middle of the ice and no one is touching him. It's like, I'm just going to do this and it's going to happen, and I'm going to be confident in my first year in the league doing this, and there's not going to be a problem.
But it is
incredible.
It is a really chaotic field for Rookie of the Year right now. There's a lot of players that are boiling underneath. Wall, you mentioned before, as being one of them. So there's a lot of room for movement there. Maybe not so much for the Norris. Out of all the Awards Watch categories, this was the biggest gap. Quinn Hughes has a very sizable lead over Cale Makar and Miro Heiskanen right now. Heiskanen was the guy that everybody was like, it's going to be his time to win the Norris, and Quinn Hughes market corrected him in a week and a half this season. Quinn's been awesome. If he keeps playing at the clip he's playing at and putting up the points he's been putting up, it's going to be his year to win the Norris, I think, barring a Cale Makar assault on the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, that looks exactly how you would have expected the Norris to go, right?
Yep.
Like those names being bandied about. The Hart Trophy, McDavid omission, obviously, with his start. It just looks weird.
He didn't get a single vote. He didn't get
that makes sense, though.
Vote for the Hart. Isn't that wild?
It is wild, but it makes sense based on the start. But yes, it is wild. You're right. It is.
Jack Hughes is your leader. Obviously, a lot of this balloting was done before and around his injury. He's week to week for the Devils. David Pastrnak getting a lion's share of credit for the offensive output for the Boston Bruins. And Elias Pettersson for the Vancouver Canucks is the other guy in the top 3. Pettersson probably might move up to number 1 here if Jack is out for a little bit. One name to keep in mind, Arda, which is going to make Rangers fans pretty happy, Artemi Panarin. I had a few voters tell me that's the guy that they have their eye on right now. He's having an amazing statistic season, playing maybe his best hockey as a Ranger so far early on for Peter Laviolette. Listen, all it took was him to get rid of the Trubik locks on his head and get hardcore with his hair to become the player he's meant to be. But Panarin's one guy to definitely watch for this award.
I'm happy with this because I picked Jack Hughes as my Hart Trophy winner. So the fact that he's in the lead so far makes me very, very happy. We would like to end the show with an apology to all of our listeners here on The Drop. Wish and I did our best Spider-Man meme impression yesterday on Twitter. And we, unfortunately for all of you, will be continuing The Drop. We recently signed extensions with ESPN, so we'll be sticking around for a while. But in all seriousness, buddy, congratulations. Well-deserved for you. Love to see it, and happy that we get to do this show for the foreseeable future, which is awesome.
And right back at you, bud. And thank you to everybody who had such kind things to say about me and Arda on social media yesterday when the news was broken. It was cool to see that there's an appreciation for the weirdness that we bring to the proceedings here at ESPN.
Yeah, we love the show. We love doing the show. We love the creativity and freedom it brings. And we hope to continue to make you laugh and cry and, be part of the journey along the way. And remember, that journey continues every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you get your audio podcasts, and the NHL and ESPN YouTube. And thanks to everyone behind the scenes, too. Andrea, Justin, everyone that makes this show run. It is awesome. We have a blast doing it. And we'll see you on Tuesday. That's it for us. Enjoy the weekend of hockey.
Take care.